Hey everyone, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. January is ending, and let me go over the front lines to explain you where we are and where we're going. So first things first, we start with the north side, Novoselivske. Here it's positional fighting. Despite Russians supplying quite significant number of troops to this direction, they don't really have the strength necessary to go and storm Novoselivsky to retake it. On the same side, Ukrainians don't have enough concentration of forces here to continue their advances, so we are pretty much in a stuck position so far. Continuous reinforcements of the Russian troops around Kremlin now with the fresh VDV forces is definitely giving some momentum for the Russians. As I explained last time, we saw videos for the battles around Dibrova. Again, still no information from both sides that Dibrova is completely captured. So most probably the city is either split or it's coming back and forth between each others. So that's pretty much the situation that we're seeing around Dibrova. And we also get reports from Ukrainians that there are attacks towards Terny and Yampilivka, which suggests that Russians are trying to kind of push towards Liman. And this will explain itself just a little bit later on when we get to the Bakhmut front line. Because Bakhmut situation is deteriorating, and it's deteriorating, I wouldn't say fast, but it's not fast as it's uncontrollable for the Ukrainian forces, but definitely Ukrainians cannot keep up the momentum with the Russians. So what happened is right now at the north side here, we know that this crossing over here is actually contested. So if you, for example, look out of the map and you see, okay, if this crossing is gone, then that's pretty much already, even Krasna Hora, which is actually also contested, and Paraskovievka, they're already becoming really, really close to be overtaken. Blagodatne is already taken, I think it was like a day or 2 days ago. And this was basically the supply line for the north. So with the current tempo, we can expect that the Russians will be able to overtake this within a week, maybe 2 weeks max, I think. The same goes for the south side. I explained to you that there was a huge fighting on the hills around Klishivka, whereas defensive fortifications for the Ukrainians were. Now we definitely know that Russians are advancing towards the road. They don't want to advance towards Ivanivske. So maximum what we can expect is there going to be some kind of fixing attack towards Ivanivske. But we already hear that Russians are more focused around this area over here. I'm going to put it as an A. So this area around A, this is both the high ground in this area, and also this is kind of the fortification channel of, it's an irrigation channel that Ukrainians can use as a fortification later on. For example, if Russia gets into this, then if they try to go left in the situation or west, then they will stumble against this irrigation channel. So going alongside this irrigation channel is more favorable for Russians. We should expect on the south side, Ukrainians try to mount an offensive alongside this road. So that's going to be probably the next line. But again, this is already cutting significant portion of the Bakhmut supplies. And the same goes for the north side. If this crossing is indeed contested, which reports are it is, then we can say that the northern supply road is also gone. So we can say that slowly but surely situation in Bakhmut is becoming untenable. We are moving from, right now we can say it's not the best, but still controllable. But within the next week or two, it will deteriorate more and more and more. We are looking for Bakhmut to becoming an occupied city quite soon. What will this bring? As I explained to you before, here all of the way essentially to Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, this area is going to be hills for the Russians, so it's not going to be a cakewalk. It's going to be a big challenge for them to advance. Most importantly, the defense line here that the analysts are drawing is here's the village of Rai Alexandrivka, and there is Chasiv Yar, And the same channel, the irrigation channel that I told you, is actually running all the way here, and it's running all the way these lines. And it just provides a really good fortified position to hold off the Russians. This channel, it is on top of the hill chain that goes throughout this settlement, so we might see the defense along these lines, or maybe just a little bit to the east, so around these settlements over here, where we can start seeing Russians slow down after they would capture Bakhmut. The more problematic the more problems for losing Bakhmut was the Bilohorivka situation over here. When Vuhledar was taken, let me just quickly mark it for you on the map so we can talk about everything. So when Vuhledar was taken, a lot of analysts said that if Ukrainians would take Kreminna, which is over here, and they will push to take Kreminna, then essentially it removes the balance in the front line for the Russians, and taking a major point as Kreminna would negate gaining of Vuhledar. Here we see that Russians did realize this. Just another thing for us to be aware of, that Russians, no matter how shitty their army is and how shitty their units are, they still possess significant force. And they are adapting to the fighting conditions, and they are adapting their tactics. Again, the problem of the Russian army is not that they do not have tactics or force. The problem of Russian army is that they are really bad at adapting. They can adapt on the big scale, but on the local scale, they are really having trouble. But again, so now with Russians taking of Vuhledar and Kreminna not really being captured by Ukrainians, this creates significant pressure on the area of Siversk and Bilohorivka. As you can see, if Russians will be able also to push towards the left side, and now from when the Bakhmut, and if the Bakhmut will be captured, I'm still pushing, then the situation will become even worse, because that will create a very, very dangerous pocket for Ukrainians to be in. That is kind of the big positions, and this is something that we should be very aware of. As I've explained in the last couple of videos, momentum is on the Russian side right now. Ukrainians are preparing their counterattack, but it's not going to be coming soon. We talked a lot in my stream yesterday, so if you would like to know more about why the situation is developing as it is, watch that. But importantly, we should expect very, very tough couple of months. But in the end, we're going to see at maximum, this is pretty much all analysts agree, is that Russians will reach the defense line of Konstantinivka, Kostianivka, Kramatorsk, Slovyansk, and so on, this chain of cities. But that's going to be pretty much the turning point at which, without significant influx of force, Russian army will not be able to do anything. And then to wrap it all up with some of the good news, I just want to say that the situation for the Russians in the Vuhledar direction is completely atrocious. I've talked a lot about the fact that Vuhledar is a big defensive fortifications for Ukrainians, and it indeed is. Russians are really trying to reach some kind of outskirts of Vuhledar, but they just get completely struck by artillery on the way there. Decimated videos are coming one after another of just Russian platoon after platoon after platoon after platoon, vehicles, whatever, just being burned and decimated. It's at least a small site on the southern side, and Vuhledar especially is holding on. This is extremely important because this is a starting ground for a counteroffensive, and Russians are really wanting to make the counteroffensive for Ukrainians as difficult as possible. And if the Ukrainians are holding, that means that Russians are doing a really poor job. Thank you so much for watching this. I know we're now in a negative cycle of this war, where Ukraine is just gathering strength for the counteroffensive, waiting for the supplies and the decisions made at Ramstein meetings to finally come in effect and receive all of the weapons. Thanks to all of the major Patreon supporters and members of this channel. It really helps. but most importantly, on the first comment to this video, support Ukraine directly. Hold on, believe in the armed forces of Ukraine. Everything is going to be great. Slava Ukraini, I love you all, and I'll see you next time.